the radical, fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this Monday, July 22nd. It's crazy times in American politics. It really is. The insanity is everywhere, but I will continue to try to make sense for all of us of the mayhem that is going on all around us. So, of course, the latest is that Joe Biden has stepped aside, has withdrawn from his re-election campaign, and then he did so in a letter on Twitter and hasn't been seen since. And about 15 minutes later, he endorsed Kamala Harris, who now has basically received endorsement from pretty much everybody except Obama. So Obama's the only holdout. Everybody else seems to have endorsed it, including a number of people who you would think would also be vying for the Democratic nomination for president, like Newsom in California endorsed her, and what's her name in Michigan? The governor of Michigan endorsed her. And yeah, pretty much everybody has endorsed her, except Obama. I'm not sure what Obama's waiting for. Maybe there's some surprise coming. But even Manchin, who some thought might challenge her for the Democratic nomination, has basically said he would not. I don't know that he's endorsed her, but he basically said he would not run. And Pelosi and Obama, that's it, right? Pelosi and Obama have not endorsed Kamala, but everybody else has endorsed her. Speculation now is primarily around who she will pick as a vice president, presidential candidate. So that'll be interesting. I don't know if Schumer, I'm not sure if Schumer has. I haven't seen if Schumer has. Maybe Schumer hasn't either. So, and Jeffries, so they're still waiting to see if they can do something symbolic at the convention to suggest that there is some kind of democratic electoral process going on before she's just taken. All right, so Adams says Pelosi did endorse her this morning. I thought so. So anyway, I mean, it's meaningless now. There's nobody out there, and I'm not sure who would run. That is, who is available to run of all the leading candidates that were raised as options. And I'm not an expert on the politics of the Democratic Party. So of all the people who were talked about as potentials to replace Biden, I think everybody who was a potential has basically endorsed Kamala. So I think she's it. Oh, man. Excuse me. So I think she's it. And now, as I said, the big question is who is going to step in and be the VP. It is, we'll talk about that in a second. It is interesting. Lots of conspiracy theories out there, of course. Of course, there are lots of conspiracy theories out there, mainly centered around, well, Biden didn't even know that he resigned. The letter was issued by his people, and then it's a fait accompli, so he has no choice. Nobody's seen Biden for 2 days. What's up with that? Maybe, did he really not resign and they're keeping him under wraps? So everything else. So who knows? Who knows what's, all the, what's happening inside. But if you remember, I'll just point this out for all of you inspired by conspiracy theories. If you remember last week, I predicted that Biden would quit on Sunday. And what day did he quit on? Yeah, on Sunday. So maybe I'm behind it all. I think I'm behind it all. I think it's all driven by my ultimate control over the politics of the Democratic and Republican Party. I picked Vance. I told you it was going to be Vance. I picked Kamala. I fired Biden. It really is one big conspiracy theory run by this particular elder of Zion, no other elders of Zion, just one elder of Zion. I mean, I don't need other elders of Zion to help me run it. Anyway, Elon Musk knows exactly who's behind this. Elon Musk tweeted today, 7:21. So this tweet yesterday. He tweeted yesterday. I'd just like to thank Alexander Soros for not keeping everyone in suspense about who the next puppet would be. So Elon Musk not shying away from participating in the constant, ever-growing, continuous, I don't know, what do you want to call it, BS, conspiracy theory stuff that is happening. So that is also going on. Elon Musk spreading conspiracy theories about George Soros controlling the Democratic Party. I mean, it is true that George Soros is a huge donor to the Democratic Party. It is true that George Soros has a huge amount of impact within the Democratic Party, just like big donors to the Republican Party have huge impact. But I don't think whoever it is that the Democrats nominate is a puppet of George Soros any more than, again, whoever the Republicans nominate, Trump in this case, is a puppet of. I think Trump's only a puppet of his own emotions. Of course, they're all my puppets. My puppets. All right. Let's see. What else did we want to talk about with regard to Kamala? A few things. One, let's just talk about their vice presidential nominations. Probably not going to be Newsom. The Constitution does not allow two people for the same state to run. I mean, you could get around it, but it's complicated. Probably not happening. And I'm not sure Newsom wants to be anybody's vice presidential candidate. I think he is going for the full ticket or nothing. I think the most likely candidates that make the most political sense for Kamala. I mean, here's the point. Nobody really knows what Kamala stands for. She has run as a progressive, is way out there on the left. She's run as a centrist. She's positioned herself as a progressive. She'll position herself as a centrist running for president. So nobody really knows what she actually stands for, because I don't think there is anything she actually stands for. I think she's just in the wind. She's a power-lusting politician. I think she really very much is. We'll get to that a little bit more in a minute. I think the VP candidate will be a signal of whether she wants to bolster her progressive credentials or bolster her centrist credentials. I think if she's smart, she will go for a centrist. She'll go for somebody who's a moderate. And she will go for somebody from a swing state, a state that she has to win. There are two obvious candidates here. One is the governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro, and the other one is the governor of Michigan. Both of those are swing states, Michigan and Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is bigger, more. She has to win Pennsylvania to win the nomination, if she wants to win the nomination. So Pennsylvania makes the most sense. Shapiro is a new governor, but he won by a big margin, 13 points, I think, in Pennsylvania, which is a swing state. That's a big margin. He's definitely considered a centrist. He's very pro-Israel. That'll mitigate some of the anti-Israel stuff she has said, maybe. And I think she'll figure the far left is not going to vote for Trump, so maybe she'll vote for her anyway. So I think it's Shapiro that would be my, I don't know, nobody's asking me, but my recommendation, right? Now, he's Jewish. That's definitely a problem. It's a problem with the Arab vote in Michigan. So she could go to Whitmer, who's the governor of Michigan. I mean, I guess the Arab population, they voted for her. It's another swing state. It's another woman, 2 women on the ticket. I don't know. I mean, maybe. Who else is there? There's the senator, I think, from Arizona. Arizona's another swing state she needs. So she could go for Arizona. Governor of Kentucky said he'd be open to discussions. He's a Democrat in a red state, but she's not going to win Kentucky. So even with him on the ticket, I don't think she wins Kentucky. Particularly with abortion not on the table, right? Trump has been very, very smart in taking abortion off the table. So, I mean, yeah, I think Shapiro's biggest issue is that he's Jewish. So I say she takes Governor of Michigan, and we run a two women campaign. I don't know. Is that too radical for Americans? Is she going to have to get a man? Yeah, I don't know. What do I know? It's politics. If she takes somebody from a blue state, that's just silly. She has to take somebody who's popular in a swing state. North Carolina, the governor of North Carolina is another possibility, right? I mean, North Carolina is kind of a swing state, leans heavily Republican, but did elect a Democratic governor. So maybe a governor from North Carolina, and she tries to take North Carolina away from Trump. I mean, that would be huge, right? So that's some of the thinking. I think my thinking behind this. I don't know if that is of any value or if that helps. But yeah, I mean, Politico has 9 possible, listed 9. She could take Pritzker from Illinois. I mean, Trump was really going to make fun of him for being fat. But Pritzker, she's got Illinois anyway. So maybe it's Mark Kelly from Arizona if it's a man. Otherwise, it's probably Whitmer from Michigan, or Roy Cooper from North Carolina. I think it's not going to be Newsom. It's not going to be Pritzker. It's not going to be a Maryland government. I mean, a governor? Nobody knows him, and it's not going to be Pete Buttigieg. I don't think the country's ready for a woman president, a gay VP. So the real consideration is the country ready for 2 women? Now notice all of those candidates. I think all of those. Maybe with the exception of Pete, but I'm not even sure they're all considered centrist. She's not going to consider anybody on the far left. She's not going to consider anybody on the far left. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. This is going to be a lot more fun than Biden. Biden was boring and obviously going to lose, and it was going to be just Trump stampeding all over him. It's likely, very likely, highly likely, almost, very, very, very likely that Trump still wins. But at least I think she'll give him a fight. I think she'll give him a fight a little bit. David, thank you for the sticker. Mary Aline, thank you for the sticker. Eric, thank you for the sticker. Cool. I appreciate the support, guys. And so that's where we are. Now, what about Kamala herself? Now, I haven't done all kind of the in-depth reading. I'd like to read some of the stuff she's written and really get in deep. So But these are some of the kind of the initial impressions I have of Kamala Harris. And Kamala's been motivated around power for a very long time, and she's always been incredibly ambitious politically. You know, the rumors are, but they're pretty, I think, substantial, that when she entered Democratic politics in California, at the time, the most powerful politician in California politics was Willie Brown. Willie Brown was Speaker of the House in California, a very flamboyant guy, and married, but it was kind of an open marriage. He slept around, and everybody knew that. And he had an affair with Kamala, and he was quite a bit older than her. And a lot of the talk is, you know, basically she slept her way up through the ranks. Now, you'll say that, you know, I'm being sexist, you know, but men don't do that because women are typically not higher up. I mean, I think they would, definitely, if it was. But there is good reason to believe that she did that. Now, she has been district attorney of a major city, right? She's been the district attorney of the state of California. She won that election, and she was, to her credit, and I think this is why it's going to be tough to paint her just as a progressive far leftist, she was tough on crime. She ran the campaign to try to appeal to the left. So she ran it on an agenda of anti-death penalty. But once she got into the position of Attorney General for the state of California, she was all over the death penalty. I mean, she sent a number of people to death row, and it was considered, for a Democrat, a really tough on crime district attorney. So I don't know of anybody who, from her time as district attorney in the state of California, thinks negatively. I think was she district attorney for L.A.? Was she attorney general, district attorney in L.A.? I think that's the major city. So, you know, she has the kind of qualifications that get you into a position to be president. She has more experience, and more experience in this than many a candidate, including Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance has been, what's his credentials? He's been senator for 2 years. She was also senator of California for 4 years before Joe Biden picked her as vice president. As a senator, I think she was probably more left than she was as a district attorney, and that's why I say she goes back and forth. Oh, she's from Oakland, so she was she? God, I knew this. I thought I knew this. Anyway, she was a district attorney of one of Harris district attorney. Let's see what comes up. Yeah, I'm getting Harris County district attorney. Anyway, we will see. But again, a record as California district attorney was fairly positive. People here on the chat. Okay, in San Francisco. So San Francisco. And this is, I knew it was a major city. I thought it was LA for some reason, but San Francisco. So, you know, San Francisco in those days was not the crazy place it's become. So she was, again, relatively speaking, tough on crime in both places. She was not a crazy leftist that didn't prosecute shoplifting and didn't care about, and let the homeless take over the city. That was not that period in San Francisco's history. That is a much more recent period. So she was a decent district attorney by all measures, right? She actually succeeded Jerry Brown as California's district attorney in 2010. And yeah, look, she's a leftist. So she's terrible on a number of different things, right? She's terrible on business. She went after business people. She also, secured, an anti-foreclosure law. She helped pass the California Homeowners Bill of Rights, which is an anti-foreclosure law, anti-banking law. So in all of those respects, right? So I don't know that she believes in anything in particular. I don't know that she believes in anything in particular. I think she gets to put a finger in the wind and figure out what's necessary to achieve a job or succeed in a job, and then goes from there. Yeah, we'll see what kind of campaign she runs. Rumors have it that Trump might not agree to debate her. He might think there's no advantage of him debating her. Supposedly, she can be a pretty tough debater, although I don't remember her standing out in particular in the Democratic primaries in 2020 as anything spectacular, anything interesting. So I don't know that Trump has too much to worry about her, but he's got nothing to lose, so he might not debate her. The other thing I've heard is that if he decides that he is going to debate her, he is going to refuse to do it on ABC or NBC, whatever the channel that it's supposed to be on, and insist that it be done on Fox News. So it's interesting. There is a video where Tulsi Gabbard takes down Harris and humiliates her. So, I don't know where she gets this reputation as a good debater. Maybe, look, she was an attorney general, so she's argued things in court. She's gone after people in court, so she knows how to stand up in front of judges at least and make an argument. She's no what is it? Incomprehensible, mumbling, incompetent. Whether she can stand up to an abusive Trump, I don't know. I have no idea. But she can. So she's a district attorney. District attorneys can usually do the job. Can usually do the job of speaking up, and they're usually feisty. She's considered feisty. Again, the evidence, I haven't seen it firsthand, but she's considered feisty. We'll see. I don't think she takes Tulsi Gabbard as VP. Tulsi is too much of a wacko. And Tulsi's already, I think, criticized her. I think this morning I saw some video coming out where she's already criticizing her. This is just the same old Democratic Party. This is all, so the whole thing. So I don't think that's happening. Okay, what else do we want to say about Kamala? She said some, she, within the Biden administration, played the anti-Israeli side. So she was the one more critical of Israel. Again, I have no idea whether she believes that or not, because she was trying to, they were trying to appease the far left. On the Leroy says Mitt Romney for VP. I mean, absolutely. I mean, look, if we could get outside of the insanity of electoral politics, if we get out of insanity of these political parties and the way they think and the tribalism, we get away from the tribalism. I mean, imagine her picking a never Trump Republican as VP. I mean, that would actually be pretty amazing. and it would appeal to independents. It would appeal to the center. She might lose some of the far left vote, but she might lose it anyway, even by choosing Josh Shapiro or Whitmer. She might lose the far left anyway. So why not, go after somebody like Romney? Paul Ryan is considered among Democrats too far right, too pro-free markets, but Romney is considered an elder statesman almost. He's considered, and he wouldn't be a threat to the Democrats in terms of Romney's not going to run for president in 8 years, right? He's too old. So, no, Mike Pence would never work because Democrats would never vote for him. But maybe, I don't know. It would just be like it would break expectations, shatter them. I don't think she could take Liz Cheney either because the Cheney name is so hated among Democrats because of Iraq, right? Because of the Iraq war. But Romney doesn't have those negatives. Now, I don't think it'll happen. I don't think there's any chance it'll happen. But, yeah, I mean, I agree with I Like Numbers. Them picking Romney is fantasy land. I agree. It's completely fantasy land. But it's kind of cool. It would be really, really, different. It would really challenge the status quo, and it would throw the election, I think, wide open. I think she'd have a much better chance of winning, actually. She'd get some moderate Republicans. She'd get some Republicans maybe who won't vote for Trump. I mean, it's an interesting ticket. It's an interesting ticket. Yeah, I mean, I'm really curious what the next few days. It's going to be interesting to see how she positions herself, along the conventional. Oh, Chris Christie, there's an interesting one. Yeah, I like that, Wanda Freeman. I like that. Chris Christie. Feisty. He would be her attack dog against Trump. He would spend the entire campaign just ridiculing and going after Trump. And no way she takes Elizabeth Warren. I mean, she loses the election immediately if she takes Elizabeth Warren. But Chris Christie. All right. I'm voting for that ticket. That's good. I like that. It ain't happening, but I like the idea. I mean, Chris Christie's the only one who's got the balls and has actually done it to actually go after Trump. Manchin would be good, but I don't think she'll do it again. I would never take a VP position. No. Plus, it adds nothing. It would be a huge handicap for anybody who took me. It would be a massive handicap to have me as a VP. Can you imagine? All right, let's see. Today's show is going to be short because I have a hard stop at 3. We do have a goal, though. We do need to make $250, so we are, $165 short of that goal right now, and we do have a lot of people watching, 167. So please consider doing it wouldn't take much to get there, of course. Just consider doing. Well, we've got exactly the same amount watching as the dollars we need, so $1 a person, and we're there. So as you know, this show is funded through contributions from people like you. So that is great. Just some other things. In the news, I thought the most interesting thing in the news, which I plan to talk about more probably tomorrow, we'll have a little bit more time and I'll go into more detail about this, is a study is just being published. And this is the most, I'd say the most comprehensive study of an actual UBI experiment where they took a bunch of people, they gave them $1,000 a month for 3 years. They gave another set of people only $50 a month for those same years. They had a real control. They had a real control group. And fascinating results. Basically, God, I mean, it's too funny. it's too funny to actually say this with a straight face because, UBI is supposed to be, if you take somebody who's really, really poor and you give them UBI, you give them a set amount of money, that kind of relieves stress and it allows them to be serious about going and finding more work, better work. It allows poor people supposedly to maybe start a business. It provides them with a little bit of cushion, right? Safety net. It allows them, maybe some of them, if they're younger, to go and get an education, to try to get a better job and raise themselves up. So, I mean, the UBI crowd talks this up as the solution that's better than welfare because you don't lose the money even if you get a job. There's no massive penalty for actually advancing in life. It's stable, it's fixed, it happens no matter what, and it gives you all this security and all this comfort, and it should have these amazing positive results. And this is a policy, the UBI, that was hailed by a lot of people in Silicon Valley, on the left and on the right. A lot of so-called libertarian types were promoting this as an alternative to the welfare state, although it's welfare on steroids. So Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, ran an experiment. He basically put his own money up, and tomorrow I'll tell you how much money he put up, but he put up a lot of money. And they ran an experiment. And you know what the result was? That the $1,000 a month allowed the people who received it more leisure time. They actually worked less. No big changes in education. No big changes in entrepreneurial activity. It just encouraged them to engage probably in the culture that got them poor to begin with, which is a culture of not working very hard. At least that is my first reading in the study. Now, I'll dig deeper into it, and if there's more interesting stuff to talk about, I will bring that up tomorrow as well. I thought that was pretty amazing, pretty amazing. Let's see, Vadim, thank you. Jack, thank you. John, thank you. Mike, thank you. Linda, Enric, thank you to all you guys chipping away slowly at that goal. There's 173 people watching now. I know there's a bunch of people watching on Twitter. Let me encourage those people to go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel or follow me on Twitter. But even better, subscribe to my channel on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter as well. You can do both. And if you the nice thing about YouTube is if you watch live on YouTube, you can also help support the show by asking questions and by doing stickers and by doing all that, which is a huge benefit because the show doesn't exist without viewers like you, over 200 people on Twitter. And then the other thing you can do is if you want to support the show is please become a monthly contributor. You can do that on Patreon or on PayPal. PayPal would be yaronbrookshow.com/membership. But go to Patreon. Patreon's easy. You just type in Yaron Brook Show and make a monthly contribution. I'm gonna run a challenge from now to the end of the month. I want to add 10 new subscribers on Patreon or on PayPal. 10 new subscribers between now and the end of the month. That's, I don't know, one a day. So please consider doing that and becoming a subscriber. There are all kinds of perks you get depending on the amount on how much a month you want to do. You can do as low as $5, but I'd really appreciate the support. I'm gonna the next few months, I think I'm gonna really try to bolster the monthly contributions and try to get them up to where I think they need to be in terms of the support for this show, so we can keep this going indefinitely. So please consider jumping over to Patreon. And now, if you become a supporter of Patreon at the $10 level, you can also get the Yaron Brook Show ad-free, commercial-free, as a podcast with an RSS, and you can just stream it and get it ad-free. So that's another reason to go to Patreon versus PayPal. And so please consider jumping over to Patreon and just adding yourself and becoming a supporter. Okay, lastly, as we're speaking, the head of the Secret Service is testifying in front of Congress about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And I haven't watched the whole thing. I've watched bits of it and read a little bit about it, but it's still ongoing. So I will probably talk about this tomorrow. But the thing that's coming across most, I think, clearly is what I said last week. They're just incompetent. They're incompetent bureaucrats. She's acting like a typical bureaucrat. Look, not my fault, not this fault, it's his fault, it's over there, it's this circumstances, that circumstances. She admitted that it was the greatest, the biggest kind of failure of the Secret Service, in decades. But it seems like she's refusing to take responsibility for that failure. I mean, whose failure is it? If she runs the Secret Service failure, then it seems like obvious that it's her failure. But she's refusing to admit that. She's refusing to acknowledge that fact, right? So typical government bureaucrat. This is my point about the Secret Service. This is my point about government entities. And the Secret Service is no different in a sense than other government entities. It's just a fiasco. It's a disaster. And don't expect because they carry a badge or they got a gun or they're called the Secret Service. And we watch a lot of really cool movies where in the movies they're super efficient and unbelievably strong and powerful and capable. And whether they're women or men, it doesn't matter. They win the day. In reality, maybe not. Particularly as they become more bureaucratic and as you rise up in the service to higher and higher positions. So interesting, and it is interesting in terms of really how bad they can be, but clearly pretty awful, right? Pretty awful. All right, let's see. Let's take some of your questions. Again, encourage you to ask questions. We're six $20 questions away from reaching our goal. So 6 $20 questions right now. I think I'll be able to answer those. Not much more than that, but I should be able to answer that. I'm going to take Daniel's first because his question is going to disappear because he did the super chat separate from the question. He says, do you think the Democratic Party has already accepted defeat and is using this an opportunity to get rid of Kamala Harris' problem, let her loose now so that they can dismiss her in the future? I don't know. I don't think so necessarily. I mean, the reality is that they are running against Donald Trump. And even post the debate with Biden, Trump was not leading by a big margin in the popular vote. He was maybe leading by 1 or 2%. Now, that's a lot for a Republican in the popular vote, but it wasn't huge. So I really do think the Democrats think that there's an outside chance, a low probability chance, but still a chance for them to actually win. So I don't think it's a completely, okay, we've given up, we know we're going to lose, that's it. I think they really do think that they have a chance. And so I don't think they've given up. And it's not like, so I do think that people like Newsom, even maybe Whitmer, maybe some of the others, are not going to challenge Harris is because they think the probability of winning is low, not zero, but low. And they don't want to waste it, right? They don't want to waste the run. They want to wait and see what happens this time and then run in the future where they maybe have a better chance. Like Newsom's still young, Whitmer's still young. Even if they have to wait 8 years, they're fine. But the higher likelihood is they'll only have to wait 4. And it is true that if Kamala Harris loses, she won't run probably in 4 years, or probably won't run quite as an as effectively, right? So anyway, it will be interesting to see as we keep track of that, how the different Democrats in different places position themselves vis-a-vis Kamala Harris and vis-a-vis the different issues involved. So far, as I said, all the leading candidates, alternative candidates to her, have basically all endorsed her, so that the Democratic Party seems, at least at this point, to consolidate around Kamala. But again, I think she has to get the swing states, and to do that, she has to nominate one of the swing state people. And I think Josh Shapiro is probably best, other than that he's Jewish, and that could be a hindrance to the far left. He's Jewish and very pro-Israel. All right, let's see. Thank you, Daniel. Remo, if you want to ask a question, now's the time, because we've got 2 questions, and then we're basically done. How should one deal with people having irrational or wrong views about you at work? So to what extent does perception matter at the workplace? Well, I mean, it certainly matters if it inhibits your ability to do the work. It certainly is an issue if it's your boss or your boss's boss. To the extent that it affects you, it matters. So, it really depends on the form of the irrationality that it takes. But it's something you can't ignore. You can't ignore, because it can have consequences for you from the perspective of having a career. So you have to deal with it one way or the other. You have to either, if it's your boss, then I would actually sit down and talk to them and try to straighten things out and try to express why it is you think you're being irrationally wronged, and actually, be proactive about it. I think if it's a colleague, to the extent, if it's not affecting your work, then try to have it isolate. Try it not to go from that colleague to everybody else in the office or to your boss. So it's something that has to be dealt with. It's something you have to think about in the context of your workplace, in the context of the particular work you do, and the context of the particular people involved, how you can manage it most effectively. But it's something you should manage. That perception will, like it or not, affect the trajectory of your work. And look, you might believe somebody has an irrational view of you, a wrong view of you, but it's worth sometimes hearing them out. There might be something to learn from their perspective on you, and there might be something you don't know that you do. There might be something that would benefit you to understand. So don't always assume that they're just wrong, you're right, and they're just irrational and stupid. I'm caricaturing it, but something like that. So that is what I would do. Think about it, have a conversation with the person if that's appropriate, but deal with it. In one way or the other, you got to deal with it. All right, let me just thank, I can't remember how far I went back, Enric, Apollo Zeus, Matt, Colt, Gail, Carolina, and Mary Aline for their stickers. Thank you. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Let's see, Sean, $50. Thank you, Sean. That is very generous. Really appreciate that. All right, we're getting closer, guys. Another Sean with $50, and we're done. I found you through your debate with Vosh. More donations to come in the future. Thank you for the work that you do. I appreciate it, Sean. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that debate got a lot of views, so that's good, and I'm glad you came. I'm curious, some opportunity, if you give us some background on how you found that debate. Were you doing it because of Vosh? Were you interested in the topic, interested in him? What led you to that debate would be interesting from a marketing perspective. And in terms of me setting up future debates, that would be incredibly valuable. So, yeah, just curious, but thank you. Silvanos, put yourself in Kamala's shoes. Who do you bring for VP if you want to maximize reach to voters? I mean, as I said, I think the main thing to do is to get somebody from a swing state. Somebody from the swing state who ideally has the most name recognition, name recognition you can find. There are not a lot of people with name recognition in this world. So I think again, Shapiro, Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania is the biggest of all the swing states. It has the most electoral votes. So if you can get Pennsylvania on your side, that is a huge step up. And now you can focus on some other of the swing states that you have to bring on board. Whitmer is another one because of Michigan being a swing state, and the senator from Arizona, which is another swing state that she could have, and lastly, the governor of North Carolina. I think those are the top 4 candidates, and I think that makes complete sense. And then you want somebody who's more of a centrist. So the North Carolina governor is great because he's basically a governor of a Republican state, but he's a Democratic governor. So he's a Democrat who's won in a Republican state. That's great. So I don't know anything about the North Carolina governor, Roy Cooper, but he might be the best candidate of the lot, given that he governs a Republican state that she could win, because it is considered a swing state versus the Democratic governor of Kentucky, where she can't win. So it's about electoral votes, getting the states, and it's about picking somebody who's, in a sense, to the right of her, so somebody who's more of a centrist, without any question. Soupy Cask says Cooper might be the running mate. Yeah, I mean, the more I think about it, Cooper makes the most sense. Now, the other advantage is he's 67. So in 8 years, he's 75, probably doesn't run. So he's also less of a threat to other Democrats who might want to run for president in 4 or 8 years. Anyway, so that is the best I can do in terms of the considerations. All right, we're just $50 short, guy. Mary Eileen says, if 2 women on the ticket, I don't think Trump would stop himself from making really stupid comments about it, maybe lose a few votes over it. Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? It would be cool just to piss Trump off and force him into that position where he has to say something ridiculous. Wanda Freeman says it didn't stop Biden or Trump, the fact that they're old. True. I just think it reduces the concern I think the younger candidates have over Cooper. Ben Jackson says Cooper won't help. He's unliked in North Carolina at the moment. Okay, I didn't know that. So yeah, I mean, you have to pick somebody who can actually bring you something, and they have to bring a state. I still go back to Rosen or what's her name in Michigan? Jonathan, if Trump loses in 2024, will he try again in 2028? I don't think so. I think what he'll try to do is pick the candidate for 2028, and maybe that candidate will be his son. So that's a possibility. Ooh, Soupycast has an interesting idea, and that is Kristen Sinema. Kristen Sinema. Now, I don't know, would she bring Arizona with her? She's the former Democrat, currently independent. She left the Democratic Party senator from Arizona, who's not running for the Senate. So she's free. She's definitely a centrist. So, maybe. I think Trump Jr. might run in 2028. Paulo Zeus, more shows on female beauty, please. I doubt it. Hi, Yaron. Living in Puerto Rico, I wonder if you're fluent in Spanish. No, I don't know any Spanish. I know a few words, but no, I don't know any Spanish. My wife is fluent in Spanish. I'm not interested in learning Spanish. I don't really care. I manage without it, and I'm not motivated to learn it. So I'm just not doing it. I manage, and it's good enough. It's good enough. I'm just so busy learning Spanish. There are only so many brain cells, and learning Spanish would just challenge my brain cells. It's just more than I can handle, I think, given everything else that I'm doing. I'm doing a lot, right? These daily shows. I'm teaching for the Institute. I'm mentoring a bunch of people for the Institute. I travel and give speeches. All of that combined, it's just, for me right now, too much. All right. Adam just did it. Thank you, Adam. Jonathan, Mark Kelly for VP, Arizona Senate, veteran astronaut. Yeah, again, would be a good pick. I think Mark Kelly, again, a centrist. He might be able to bring Arizona on board and bolster centrist credentials. So either Sinema or Mark Kelly from Arizona both make sense, right? Let me just finish this thread. Silvana says, what about Andy Basheer from Kentucky? I just don't think he buys her what she needs. And I think what she needs is a state. And I don't think she wins Kentucky even if he's her VP. I just don't think she does. It's too much of a red state. So I don't think he adds that much. I don't think he adds that much. But I'd be happy with him. Adam Campbell, donations so you are now unburdened by what has been short of your goal. I hope you get the Kamala reference. Unburdened by what had been. Yeah, she's got something about you need to be unburdened by what has been in order to be focused on the future, something like that. It's actually a good line. It's actually a good line. Right? Yeah, but she did have what can be unburdened by what has been. It's not exactly what she means. She's got a better phrasing of it where she's basically saying, don't let your past be a burden in your striving towards the future. That's kind of what she means, but she bungles up the words, and she gets all messed up and confused, and it gets all screwed up. So, I have to remind you, tonight, 7 p.m., those of you on Twitter, invited, those of you on YouTube, I'm interviewing my favorite, basically, policy commentator, economic policy commentator, Scott Lincecum. Scott works for Cato, but he's just really, really good on issues of economic freedom and economic liberty. So he is, he's the best out there. I don't know anybody out there who comments on economic liberty issues who's better than he is right now. David asks, I want to thank Wes. Wes, thank you. Really appreciate it. And David asks, would you vote for Kamala? Only if the alternative was Trump or J.D. Vance, would I vote for Kamala? So I very much might. I won't because I can't vote because I'm in Puerto Rico. But I certainly might. That is, I certainly could view it as an option, given who she's running against. As I've said often, I will not vote for Trump. So the only option is not voting at all. voting for a Democrat. And depending on how she behaves over the next few weeks, it's possible. Okay, last couple of questions, Paulo Zeus. The UK has had several female prime ministers. Your view on Rand's opinion of a female president, that is a very complex topic that I'm not going to get into right now. Ask that again on a longer show because I have to run. But I think the point I think I would make right now is I think given the choices, you've just got to vote for the best option, even if it's a woman, even when Rand said she would never vote for a woman. So I wouldn't let that constrain me. And as I said, I would have voted for Nikki Haley easily. So I'm not going to get it constrained. Let it constrain me. Matt says, hi, Yaron. Are you a native English speaker? If you're not, your English is really amazing. Anything you can share about language learning? I'm kind of a native English speaker, kind of. I grew up in a bilingual household. We spoke English and Hebrew. I also was taken when I was 5 years old or 5.5 years old to live in England. So I was immersed in English, even if I didn't want it, in England. So I have spoken almost all of my life, basically all of my life, both languages. And I don't know either one of them spectacularly well. My vocabulary is limited. My grammar's questionable. So, but I really was raised with both. Matt, thank you. That was Matt's third super chat contribution. As I told you, YouTube lets me know certain milestones. We also got a third YouTube super chat contribution from Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. And all right. I will see you all tonight at 7. It's going to be really, really cool. We're going to talk about globalization and trade and economic liberty and Trump and maybe Kamala and just in terms of what is possible and where the world is heading and what he thinks their positions on these various issues. But primarily just the value of globalization, the value of trade, the value of economic liberty, and the kind of the issues on the table right now globally. We'll talk about China. We'll talk about other things. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Scott Lincecum, 7 p.m. tonight. Join us. I need to run. I'll see you all tonight or tomorrow. Bye, everybody.